What up, everybody? One of the most common causes of bloodshed is revenge. Because revenge just doesn't apply to gangsters, hustlers, and drug dealers. It could apply to everyone, even civilians. Revenge has no respect of person and no expiration date. For example, in the movie Boys in the Hood, Trey got in the car with Dope Boy to seek revenge for Ricky's death and almost risked his entire future. And as far as revenge having no expiration date, Ghost lived good for 10 years after setting up Kanan to go to prison before Kanan's revenge plan got set in motion. So in this video, I want to look at past deaths in the Power universe that I think could come back into play at some point in the storyline. For example, we saw Noma show up after the death of her fiancé, Mecca. Milan showed up after the death of his distributor, Vladimir, and after Milan's death, we were introduced to his boss, Jason Mitchell. The Castillo family showed up after the death of their father, Frank, in Power Book 2, and the Savello mob, Dolores and Carlo, were introduced after the deaths of Joe Proctor and Benny Savello. That's just a few deaths that brought in a new character or characters looking for revenge. So starting this video off with Joe Proctor, since I already brought up the Savello mob. Joe Proctor was survived by his daughter, Elisa Marie Proctor, as well as his cousin Dolores and his uncle Carlo, who is the boss of the Savello mob. This family knows that Tommy Egan killed both Joe Proctor and his cousin, Savello mob capo, Benny Savello. This was the first reason why Tommy left New York in the first place at the end of OG Power, before coming back at the end of Ghost Season 1 and faking his death after becoming a wanted fugitive for the murder of James St. Patrick. Elisa Marie Proctor straight up told Tommy that she knew he killed her father, and Tommy responded by saying that if she comes for him someday that he would understand. Either though right now the Savello mob thinks that Tommy's dead, it's been said that at least Dolores Savello will be appearing in Force Season 3. Sticking with the Mafia, this gets me to the death of Sal Baselli, who was killed by Marvin Thomas in Raising Kanan Season 3. Sal Baselli is survived by his wife and his grandson, the son of his son Marco, who was killed doing the job for Marvin. I don't know if Sal's actual family will come back into play, but we definitely know that his replacement, the new New Jersey mob boss named Phil Russo, will be introduced in Raising Kanan Season 4. And he'll be looking for answers about what happened to Sal, because he would look weak if he let that death go unanswered. Possibly, may even look like he's implicated also. Getting me to D-Whiz. D-Whiz left behind his mother, who Rock and Kanan went to visit after his death, and an older brother who had gats stashed around the house and was said to always be in and out of prison, but has never been seen on screen. D-Whiz and Kanan killed a kid named Buck 20 over a corner that Rock had already given up to Unique, and as a result, the streets needed a body. Because of that, Rock came up with a plan to sacrifice D-Whiz to protect Kanan, and it was Lou who pulled the trigger. I definitely think we'll see D-Wiz's brother be introduced in the storyline eventually, looking for answers and revenge on whoever killed his brother. And it could be as soon as Season 4, because there's been a lot of speculation that B-Rilla, a new character for Season 4, is D-Wiz's older brother. Like I said, the kid who D-Whiz and Kanan killed in the very first episode of Raising Kanan was a kid named Darnell Worley, who went by Buck 20. Either though D-Whiz was sacrificed for the murder, there's still several people that know the truth that Kanan was involved. There's the two kids from Kanan's crew that stayed back with Famous but haven't been seen again since that episode. And there was also two kids who were working for Buck 20 who ran off right before he got shot but saw Kanan walking up and pulling out a gun. So I think this could come back into play at some point, specifically because Buck 20 left behind a younger brother named Jerron, who was never shown on screen, but his name was in the obituary. So Buck's younger brother might be too young right now, or at the time Buck 20 was killed, but in a couple years, he could come back into play. Either though we know he won't kill Kanan, he could still be a problem. Getting me to the death of Carlos Vibora Ruiz, who was killed by Tommy Egan. Carlos Ruiz was the leader of the Saldato Nation, and Pancho took over after his death. It seemed like Pancho signed off on Ruiz's death so he could move up because he knew that Tommy was giving Ruiz a ride home and never brought anything up about it. and Tommy eventually killed Pancho, and a young guy named Roberto took over for Pancho, who was last seen getting arrested with 2-Bit and Spanky. Carlos Ruiz was survived by his daughter, Isabelle Ruiz, who was last seen going to California at the end of season 2, and it wasn't said if she returned back to New York with her father or not. But without even knowing that Tommy killed her father, she already knows that Tommy killed her boyfriend, Nomar, and wanted revenge. That's why she helped Angela with the sketch. Once she gets older, she could get involved with her father's gang, the Soldado Nation, and I definitely could see her taking it over because Roberto, the new leader, isn't much older than her, maybe even younger than her last boyfriend, Nomar, and Isabelle would probably be in her mid-20s on the current timeline. Then there's the death of Keisha Grant, who was survived by her son, Cash. Cash went to live with his father, Kadeem, who is said to always be in and out of prison, and one of the earliest mentions of Kadeem, Tasha called him broke. Cash also has a cousin that we haven't seen on screen, either though I think it could possibly be Kevin Grant, who was introduced in Season 4 of Power Book 2 Ghost, because when Tommy first hooked up with Keisha, she said that Cash was with his cousin. Keisha's dying words was, "What about Cash?" And Tommy knew that Tasha killed Keisha and was pissed off at her before they hashed things out. And I wouldn't put it past Tommy telling Cash that Tasha killed his mom and that he was going to make this right. Since Tommy never made things right, Cash might take matters into his own hands once he gets older. Getting me to Marcus Zion Washington, who was killed by Tariq in Season 4 Ghost. We don't know if Zion had any family, but most likely he did because the Washington last name is very common in Power, like I talked about in another video a couple weeks ago. Detective Don Carter knows that Tariq killed Zion and could give this information to Zion's family to get revenge on Tariq for sending him to prison. Next, I have the death of Cardier Fareed, who was killed by Rock and Lou Thomas in Raising Kanan Season 2. Like Zion, we don't know if Cardier Fareed left any family behind or not, but one thing we do know for sure is that Cardier Fareed was a high-level drug boss, so at minimum, whoever Cardier Fareed was making money for could come back into the picture at some point, and this could be like another Milan situation. And it's no secret about who killed Cardier Fareed either, because his former distros, Tremont and Abraham, knew that it was Rock. And there's also the death of a kid named Mad Dog in Power Book Force, who was killed by D-Mac. Mad Dog's uncle is King Kilo, leader of the RDs, a gang in Chicago that aligned with CBI in Season 2. And Jannard has already agreed to hand D-Mac over to King Kilo when he gets out of prison. And the final death that I have on my list is the death of Saleem Ashay Freeman, aka Trevor Nelson, who was killed by Tariq in Season 4 of Power Book 2 Ghost. Trevor's parents will get home from their vacation in Cabo to find their son dead in the kitchen. And there you have it. Let me know if I missed anybody in the comment section, as well as your thoughts, theories, and predictions.